The Timberwolves failed to make their third straight conference finals, but may be looking to take a step back this offseason. Let's give them a makeover on this edition of The Nest. Hello everybody, welcome back to The Nest RXP. My name is Rob and welcoming you back as we continue to rebuild NBA teams in their offseason. Today we're tackling one of our four final teams, the Minnesota Timberwolves. And this is a team I've been keeping my eye on for a minute now. I'm figuring out what I would like to do with them because I think there's many different paths that they could go with. And being completely honest, I went down like 6 different routes with this team. I ended up going with just one for this video because otherwise we'd be here all day. But this team has a lot of options for how it could go, how it wants to go. But in my opinion, I think this is the best route that they could go with. But before we get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, and make sure you go check out the TikTok and the Instagram for more daily content. And just make sure to stay tuned because once we get finished up with these teams, I'm going to be covering mainly the Pelicans and their offseason, but I'm also going to be covering some major decisions. And once the offseason kind of wraps up, I will be doing a grade for each NBA team and how I think their offseason did. So stay tuned for that. Now, like I said in the opener, I think the Wolves need to take a kind of a step back with this team. Specifically, need to get not necessarily a little bit younger, but more so they need to get off some of their bad contracts and get guys who will support Anthony Edwards' timeline as well. And I'm mainly talking about guys like Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle. Now, I'm not saying those are bad players. I'm not saying, well, Julius Randle, you can debate. I don't think he's a terrible player by any means. But I think those two guys specifically, you need to get off of them and try and get some younger guys back who can better fit the timeline, especially in Rudy Gobert's case. He's, 35 years old now? He's not going to be around for too much longer. You need to get someone a little bit younger who fits the timeline a bit better. And with this rebuild that I did, there's two ways you could do it. You could either go down the route where they continue to kind of compete and they develop a bit. That's what I did. The other route was you completely rebuild them and they essentially, I don't want to say tank, but they kind of start from scratch with new young guys and new everything. And I didn't care for that as much. I do like a lot of the core they have, and I think that this team, the camaraderie between this team is key for some of their success. But I think some major changes need to be done in order to properly continue their competitive nature that they've had the last couple years. So the first trade I did was a 3-team trade involving Rudy Gobert. It's a weird trade that I don't know if a lot of people are looking at to actually happen. This was my creation, and it's very much subject to change when it comes to like the draft capital and things like that. But it looks something like this. So it's a 3-team trade with the Celtics and the Cavaliers. So the Celtics will acquire Rudy Gobert, the Cavaliers will acquire Derek White and the 2026 first round pick from Minnesota and a 2026 second round pick from Minnesota. I believe that's pick 28 and 59. And then the Timberwolves will acquire Jared Allen and Dennis Schroeder from the Cavaliers. Now, this trade is interesting in my opinion because you mainly get Dennis Schroeder just because of salary matching purposes, but you get Jared Allen, who's like a perfect replacement for Rudy Gobert. He's not nearly the same like defensive anchor that Rudy Gobert is, but he's a similar rim runner. He's a little more polished offensively, just a wee bit, and he's mobile. He's more mobile and better suited for a place out like Anthony Edwards, who may want to get out and transition a little bit more. And I like Jared Allen with that. Now, Dennis Schroeder, like I said, he's kind of just a salary match. There's other guys you can go with, but I think Dennis Schroeder is like the best option when it comes to like just matching salary because I don't think he's going to be that. I don't think the Cavaliers are going to be looking to reacquire him that heavily. The next thing I did was a Julius Randle trade, and this is a trade that a lot of people have been bringing up and taking a look at, and it's a simple trade with the Memphis Grizzlies. You see where this is going. It is Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo and a 2028 top 14 protected first round pick from Minnesota to the Timberwolves for Ja Morant. You could probably do this without the first round pick, depending on how Memphis is gauging Ja's value. Um, but two negative contract. I don't want to say two negative contracts because Dante's obviously a really good player, but he's injured, so he's expiring as well. So he's kind of a negative contract right now. But two negative contracts for Ja Morant. I think you could get away with just one first round pick, heavily protected, or a couple second round picks or something of that nature. But regardless, Julius Dante draft capital for Ja Morant. And there's a couple ways that you could tweak this. I did it with this trade I played around with for maybe like 2 hours because there's different people that I wanted the Timberwolves to acquire. I first did one that involved spoiler alert for my Spurs rebuild, Julius Randle and De'Aaron Fox. And I'm like, okay, that works. I like De'Aaron Fox. He doesn't play the greatest. He just the best recently, and he's not too much older compared to Ja Morant, obviously. But I like Jaw's contract a bit better because it allows you to re-sign AO as well and get some better depth pieces as well. So I went with Ja Morant over guys like De'Aaron Fox or even like Jalen Suggs because of that. And plus, I think another creator, a slasher specifically, someone who's downhill like Ja Morant, I think it would be perfect for this Timberwolves team, especially now that you have a pick and roll guy like Jared Allen. I should also mention that you can easily switch out Dante DiVincenzo for Dennis Schroeder in this trade. Since you have both, they're basically the same contract. I think Dante's 12 million, and Schroeder is 13, 14 million. So you could switch those out as needed. It would still work out, but it's just whichever you do with whichever one you don't use with this trade, you're going to be using in this next trade. So the next trade that I drew up was with the Los Angeles Clippers, and it is simply Dante DiVincenzo or Dennis Schroeder, whichever one you don't trade in the previous one. In this case, Schroeder, Dennis Schroeder for and 3 second-round picks from the Timberwolves for Derrick Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn. This might be a buy like this. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if Derrick Jones Jr.'s value is going to be higher than what it is. If the Clippers may value him a bit better, a bit more than that. I don't think Chris Dunn's going to be that expensive, but Derrick Jones, you may need to give up some more picks, some more seconds, maybe another young player like that in order to get him. But regardless, you're mainly getting off of a $14 million contract and Dennis Schroeder for 2 role players who can be in the rotation right now and help out this team. So it's just spacing out the contracts among the rotation a bit more. Other than that, you gave up all your picks in the Jared Allen trade, so you just need to re-sign Ayo. I have it as a 4-year, $60 million total. That's what, 15 per year. You may need to bump it up to like 80 mil, so it's 20 mil per year, whatever the case may be, 60 to 80 million total. And then I also have them signing some type of power forward to play off the bench. There's options like Rui Hachimura, Kenrich Williams, Chris Middleton, Yershon Yabusele, Larry Nance Jr., any of those guys, whoever just is willing to accept the offer that you draw up. Rui might be commanding a little bit more than you can offer, but Kenrich Williams, Chris Middleton, all those guys you should be able to get for relatively cheap. And that's about it for this Timberwolves team. Like I said, it's a step back, but you keep the core, specifically Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, Naz Reid, all those guys together. Plus you keep Terrence Shannon, who I'm very high on. I love his game, and I love him as a backup 3, or possibly you could start him as well with this team. But regardless, the team looks something like this. So Ja Morant's running the point guard position with Anthony Edwards at small shooting guard. Jaden McDaniels running the 3 with Derrick Jones Jr. running the 4 and Jared Allen at the starting 5. And then off the bench, you got Ayo, Chris Dunn, Terrence Shannon Jr., Naz Reid, Johan Behringer, and whichever power forward or forward that you sign, whether it's Kenrich Williams, Chris Middleton, Rui Hachimura, whatever the case may be. You don't really need a power forward because you have Naz Reid and Johan Behringer, who I've heard the Timberwolves are pretty high on, so that he may get some more run next year. Another option is you could just, instead of signing a power forward, you could sign a legit center, or whatever the case may be. I went with a power forward because I think Naz Reid can continue to play the center, and then you can either have options where it's like, okay, do you want small ball with Naz at the 5, or do you want a tall ball with Naz Reid and then Johan? That's the route I was going down. But let me know what you think down in the comments down below. I'm very curious what others are thinking that the Wolves should do this offseason, because this is my take on it. Like I said, there was many options, but I'm really curious if you think that the Wolves should go and get guys like De'Aaron Fox, like Ja Morant. Should they just stick with their team and make some small changes? Do you think that the Wolves are far away from being a true contender? And I say true contender, like, I don't like to throw that word around because I think every contender is a true contender to some extent. But do you think that they are closer to being a contender now, or do you think that they need to take a step back in order to take a step forward later on? Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what you think about the Ja Morant to Minnesota trade. Do you think that would work out and what that would look like? Let me know as well. And until then, y'all, peace.